Hi, I'm here with Andrea Simmons, and she's shared with us her remarkable journey out of addiction and into recovery. So please tune in to that video clip of her sharing her story with ice addiction, and that journey birthed this amazing project, this campaign. It's called the Anti-Ice Campaign, Australia campaign. And it's being delivered nationwide in Australia. So you can go into the website and you can find out more information. Programs are being delivered in schools. Make contact if you are an educator or you're a leader at your school and interested in having this program delivered. So tell us, what are you doing, and what do you see going on in terms of this ice culture here in Australia in particular?
Well, in Australia in particular, statistically, we can just gauge by the 2015 task force report, the ICE task force report is really clear in showing, and that's 2 years ago, but that was really clear in showing that we do have a severe epidemic in our nation. Just to kind of give you a rough estimate of figures, because these are people that we're talking about, and this is somebody's child, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, but they're talking around 27 youth every day become addicted to ice every single day. Today there's another 27. Tomorrow another 27. Now the fact that only 2% of these people will actually recover, and the strength and the purity of the product on our streets at the moment. Back when I became addicted, it would have been about 25 to 30% purity strength level. Today on our streets, we're seeing anywhere from 70% to 90% in some places. Now, what this means is that the product is so much stronger that straight away it affects the neurological pathways in your brain. Straight away it strips the dopamine and the serotonin. Straight away it hijacks the frontal lobe. So no longer is time where other drugs, over time you'll see a slow deterioration and an impact on their brain and the effects of that. With ice, pretty much instantaneously. And that's a real concern because people are not knowing enough about it. I mean, you see some commercials on TV, you take ice, you have superhuman powers. I don't know that is completely the right message we want to give. I never had any of that type of effect where there was aggression and violence as such. But there's certainly a definite, deterioration of the brain. And 5 years clean today, I still have memory issues, and I'm still working at supplementing and repairing that. But new neurological pathways are formed in the brain, where I'm not thinking the same, but the hippocampus in the brain goes back to retrieve the memory, and it has to start working again properly. And some of the stats that are being shown out there is that they've done some brain scans of youth that have used ice 6 times, 6 times only, and it's highlighting in the brain the effects. It would be equivalent to that of Parkinson's. Okay, so that's what it's actually doing to people's brains. And we've always had drug education, and that's fantastic. What we're doing is different. We have actually partnered up we're using the model of the Meth Project, which they've used in the US for over 10 years in 8 states, and dramatically reduced the effects or the use of ice within teens by 63%.
Wow.
In adults by 74%, and that it's dramatically reduced crime rate as well. So I looked at that for a couple of years and remodeled it to suit the Australian culture with Australian clips and Australian people who had been through ice addiction, and we could then dissect their story. And people like myself who have been through that journey are trained with dual diagnosis training. We undergo blue cards and induction, and we integrate our personal stories into the evidence-based practice workshop presentation that we hold with these kids. And, I think it's we come in there with the statement, like, we're not your parents, we're not teachers, we're not police or authority, we're not going to tell you not to do this. But we're going to show you some real stuff, and we're going to share with you the truth of what this drug's going to do to you.
Really good.
And because we've been there, the kids are really, they really listen, and they take a different approach, because we're not saying don't do drugs. Everybody knows drugs aren't good for you. I knew, But it's, somebody comes in there and says, I did this, man, and this is what it did to me, and I still have bleeding kidneys till today, and so, we can share from a real perspective of, we know what we're talking about, we've been there, and, these kids have a different approach, and they're really grateful for hearing the truth. So we not only educate in schools, year 7 to 12, but we also educate in companies, workplaces, organisations.
Wow.
We're going out into the mines, we've been into the child safety, youth justice, we're working closely with the police now. And it's we just want to unveil the enemy, and share the truth, so that people are really aware of what forms it can come in. What's in ice? The fact that there's Drano and battery acid and acetone, and I bring a bottle of Drano out and I say to the kids, all right, who wants to get high on the first 30 mils of this? Come on, you want to? We're going to get off our heads. And they go, no, why not? Well, it's poison. You wouldn't drink this, right? So this is what I was putting in my body, guys, and these kids are, whoa, people might call it shock tactic, but this is the reality. And if that's shocking, well, they need to know about it.
It's truth.
They can be deceived, And they're making ice in the form of little teddy bear tablets and little pink teddy bears, and, giving out sample bags at schools, and passing around pipes, telling kids that they have a marijuana and they're lacing it in ice so they become more regularly dependent, and they swap them over, So we're unveiling all of this. We also hold community forums in communities, and we also engage kids after we do the workshop the school workshop in an area. We engage them in an art competition with the same message. The message we're giving to our kids is not even once. It's not worth the risk and the consequences you're going to get from this.
So true.
So this is what we do in a nutshell. Apart from that, we have family support online. We also do brief interventions. All of our presenters, like myself, who've been there, we get calls a lot saying, look, I don't want to be in this world anymore. And we go out there and have a conversation with them and show them the way that they can get out and how to get help and where to go in the area, and just support them in the positive choices that they're making. So we're unveiling the enemy and creating pathways to services.
Wonderful. So I think that this work is so important, because the drug world, when you're young, especially in that very vulnerable age of teenage and high school years, it can be seductive. Yeah. I mean, drugs can be seductive, and placing these kind of conversations within the class context, within that vulnerable group that would be probably more likely to make choices out of naivety and not having information is very important, because it's very hard to disconnect when you're hearing a real life story and someone's explaining, the impact on their physical body. And so I really encourage people who are within the school system, if you haven't had that conversation, if you find it difficult to facilitate that conversation amongst your school within that age group, I really encourage you to make contact with AAIC, because they already have a structure, they already have a system in place, and I think that, it's something that other nations You know, it's something that a lot of, you know, it's not just now in Australia. I know it's big in a lot of nations. And so thank you for sharing about your story, but also about the service.
Thank you. Louise, I'd just like to cap off with, you know, this drug doesn't discriminate. It's not only attacking our youth, but we've got people from all walks of life, you know, lawyers to doctors to people 63 years old. You know, they're deceived in somebody says, oh, just take some of this, it'll make you focus or it'll make you relax. That's why we hold the community forums. You know, it's very deceptive and they don't understand, people don't understand where it's going to take them. And we really want to share that so that their lives aren't destroyed. Like, you know, a lot of our friends, you know, haven't made it. You know, we've been the 2% that have. So we really want to warn people out there and in workplaces. I mean, you know, if you have a business or an organisation, you know, it's really important to educate your staff because, you know, you'll get people stealing from your company, you'll get they won't turn up for work. It's very, very catchy. Once one gets on it, you know, people pass it around really quick until they see the destruction it's causing. By that time, it's too late. You know, so if you can pre-warn them and, you know, as part of your workplace health and safety, you know, I urge you to, you know, you need to do something. You need to warn them. And the best warning comes from somebody that's been there. And that can explain, you know, what they're going to get from going down that path. And if you're listening today and you want to help in any way, I invite you to join the Army, to join the Australian Anti-ICE Campaign Army and help us educate more kids across our nation. You know, something needs to be done about it. And these are lives. These are somebody's loved one. You know, somebody's family member, and unless we do something different, we're going to get more of what we've had.
So you can get hold of Andrea and also through the website Anti-ICE, the Australian Anti-ICE Campaign. And like Andrea said, ICE doesn't discriminate.